I am excited to welcome you here today with my friends. But before we get into that, I definitely want to let you know that this episode is going to be tight like a tiger with a T, okay? That we are talking about some real difficult stuff. It is definitely my story. I'm not telling anybody that my story is their story, but sis, if it sounds like you, but we talking about me, you might need to go see somebody. And after the episode is over, I will definitely give you more information for resources. But let's get into it. So I'm sitting here with my friend Yolanda.
Hey.
My friend Erin. And my friend Diamond. And we talk about addiction. So I'm gonna just, jump into that because that's what we're talking about. So, firstly, I want to say that just because some of these things sound like you doesn't mean it is you. But if it sounds like you a lot, definitely seek out some professional help. I did not know that I struggled with addiction for a really long time, and it was not until I sought out a separate therapist than the one that I was using. And in my third session, she was like, yeah, there's a problem. Your problem is bigger than it sounds like we're talking about. And I am I wouldn't even say I'm in recovery. I'm sober, like sober. We ain't going back sober.
That part.
3 years from sex and love addiction, and definitely sober from alcoholism. So those are the two that we'll be talking about today. But firstly, I wanted to ask Diamond, what was it like being my friend when you first met me? A long time ago.
What year was this?
Since
was
middle school. So we was babies.
So early 2000s, for the 99 to the
2000s. But we're not gonna sing the song. But you know the song.
No, it was nice. I met her at the bus stop. That's when we first met.
School bus stop.
Because we walked down the hill together.
Yes.
It was nice. She made me late for school plenty of times.
Of course.
She run late. So we missed the bus plenty of times. Her mother got mad at us. It's like, I'm not gonna keep driving you to school. I'm like,
she did.
It's the
That was
voice.
a problem. And that's my mom's voice. So like, just in case y'all think she being mean about my mom, no, she has like a helium mixed with a 6-year-old's voice, and we love her, but it's tiny. It's a tiny voice. Love you, mom.
Precious voice.
but no, it was a good experience. She's always been there, been a good friend, good ear to listen to, always give me good advice. So yeah, it was nice.
Erin, what about you? What was it like being my friend and meeting me?
So I definitely am like a well-known introvert. So all the friends that I have are people who have made friends with me. And I remember seeing Rakia across the classroom when we were at the University of Baltimore. Not a shout out.
It was me.
But I remember seeing her, I was like, oh my gosh, that girl looks so cool. But I ain't gonna say nothing to her because I'm not that type of girl. But I just remember after class, you literally came up to me like, oh my gosh, I think you look so cool. Let's be friends. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh, so she looks cool, but she's kind of weird. Like, I wasn't used to that type of energy where like somebody's like, oh, we're going to be friends now. So after that, I mean, it's kind of like thick as thieves. Like, we went everywhere together, did everything together. I mean, outside, inside, all the seasons in between. I mean, I just remember us always having a very firm foundation from the beginning, which was new for me in any of my friendships, and just being able to relate to somebody that is a person that's like outside of me, because as an introvert, I'm in my head a lot. And to have a person who literally finishes your sentences when you think everything is just you and you're alone, to connect with a person like that, I mean, it really means a lot to me. And just the love and the growth that we've gone through together has just been amazing to behold. I know it's heaven sent. It's just been beautiful, and I love you so much.
Okay, Yolanda, no pressure.
I know she made it on.
She made it real cool or whatever.
Thanks, Erin. Okay. So for me, so it's a two-part to ours. So I don't know if you remember this. We were in a mutual group together on like one of the groups at church. I can't remember what group we were in. And somebody posted about a concert or something like that. And I think I commented on the concert. And then Rakia commented on the concert. Was like, oh, Yolanda, you're going to this too. Never met her. Oh, you're going to this too? Oh, that would be so fun. far for us to link up. I'm like, who is this chick? You ain't linking up with you. So then, fast forward, we went to a cookout together. We met at this mutual cookout, and I tend to be very loud. For those who don't know, I got a big mouth. That's just who I am. I'm extroverted. So we were at this cookout, and we were playing a game or something like that, and I was loud and hyping stuff up, and then I hear this voice in the back of the room just as loud as me, hyping stuff up, talking, smack like I do, and because we're very competitive. And so I was like, who is this chick? And so then after that, I found out she was Rakia, and I was like, oh, that's the girl that was trying to hang out with me or whatever. And so then after that, like, we've been inseparable. We've like really like matched. I found out that there's just so much that we have in common. There's a lot of commonality there. And so I'm just my girl. So that's how we.
You know what I love hearing about these stories? I'm a leech, and I'm okay with that. I see what I like, and I get it. And that's not maybe what the moral would have been for others. But to hear that for myself, it's like, oh, sis, you was persistent. Like, they tried to play you for a chump, and you was a friend. So look at us years later. Look at us here. Look at us here. Yeah. But I asked a very light question first because we about to get into the thick of it and talk about the hard parts of being my friend. So during addiction, prior to like starting recording the episode, we were talking in the living room about how that's my promise ring. So enemy, get behind me. Mm-hmm. But we were talking about how like just been a drunkard since as long as I can remember, and I'm trying not to like laugh about it because I don't want to make it light, but I definitely don't want it to be real tight when it don't have to be yet. But just drinking, and one of the like very early indicators that like I shouldn't have been drinking when I was drinking is the diamond face. I was like, oh, bring it up. Y'all just like diamond face. That's all I'm saying. But was Diamond and I having a conversation, and Diamond, you could kind of pick up because I don't want to tell the story when you could. Okay. What was I doing?
Spill the tea, Diamond.
We were going to school, and she had this sippy cup, and it was really blue. And I was like, what is that? I was like, I ain't never seen a juice so blue like that. It was like sky blue. And I was like, what is that? She said, Diamond, it's juice. I was like, nah, I ain't never seen a juice like that. She said, it's a Dutch. I said, what is that? Turns out it was Hypnotic in the juice sippy cup. And we were on our way to school. It was her Nephews cup. And we were just like, okay, that's okay, I guess.
Yeah, in a sippy cup.
In a sippy cup.
That's not what sippy cups is for.
It was the best way in my mind to discreetly drink during the day at school where no one was going to ask me no questions but Diamond, because she's inquisitive. And thank God for that being the gift you have. Because it's like, what you mean I can't drink this? Diamond's like, why are you drinking that? And if we were in school, she is talking middle. And I have probably been drinking since middle school. I didn't even think I even thought about like being a person who was drinking that long until being a person who's not drinking and going through the recovery process and realizing like, oh, I've been drinking for a really long time. And I was reading Reframe Your Shame by Pastor Irene Rollins. Shout out, get the book if you haven't gotten it. But and hosting a group about that, and like in reading her book and her discussing like her alcoholism, it literally was earlier this year, I guess that was the group semester at church, realizing like, oh, actually there was an issue with alcohol and not even realizing it because it was so normalized. It's like, oh, well, this is a fun little quirky thing that Ricky is doing. It doesn't seem like it's a problem, but that led into all the copious amounts of adult drinking. So when Diamond and I used to go out in end of high school, maybe, like leading into college, because I was drinking that whole time, but Diamond wasn't. And when we started to hang out, it's like, okay, well, we're going out, we're going places. And I mean, had liquor in the car wherever we were going. I had a bottle of Dragonberry Bacardi. It's sad that I made that face, but it was something special to me at the time. And they didn't even make it. So like at the liquor store we would go to, I'm not gonna say the name because I don't want them to feel like I'm throwing shade to them. But it was like, they'd have like these shopping carts of alcohol that you could get for like insane discounts. I mean, I was getting like growler sized bottles. It was like $4. And it's like, wow. Well, it's $4. I got $20. I'm finna get five of these and put them in the back of the car. And we gonna have them when we need them. And literally like pre-gaming outside of clubs, chugging the growler, getting into the club, getting a cocktail. Especially once we got old enough, like drinking. And at that point, I think we all started to hang out together, as in me, Aaron, and Diamond, and some other friends. And then introduced the Ocean City. So, Aaron, tell the people what the Ocean City is.
So we would pretty much on a whim say, oh, let's leave the city, let's leave where we are, let's go to the beach. And we would all pile in to our car and make our way with delicious beverages. And I say delicious because it was delicious, and I'm not going to lie to y'all. But we would go to 7-Eleven, get Slurpees. We always had liquor in the car, and pour them into our drinks and like take a shot, take a drink on our way to Ocean City. And this is like a 3-hour drive, maybe like 2.5 hours max. And we would just be lit, and it's just like, oh, we're the party girls, we are the party, like we're going to turn up, and that is the occasion. We really didn't need a reason. It's like, oh, we outside, I'm outside with my ratchet friends doing ratchet things. Like, I mean, we were really in the thick of it, and it just seemed like at the time just fun. Like, oh, this is what we're supposed to be doing. Like, we're carefree, we're young, we don't have responsibilities. So why not? Like, what's stopping us from, you know, getting drunk or drinking in excess, and even, you know, putting ourselves in some precarious situations? It's like, oh, we're having fun though.
And being so drunk, one trip, passed out on the beach. I mean, lost.
That was a nice nap.
A whole day. I ain't gonna say like sleeping on the beach. Period. The sand is tranquil. It's tranquil. So we're gonna separate the two things.
Yeah.
Sleeping on the beach in the sand is tranquil. Being tore up, and like all of the like the fun catchphrases that we're using now, like being outside, like that wasn't a thing. Like people weren't outside. There was nothing to be outside for. It was just us not wanting to be in the house. Ocean City around the corner, going to Ocean City. But like getting a hotel, I don't even think there was a reason for us to be there other than we just wanted to be there. The hotel had like a table and chairs in it, and I mean we filled the whole table with every one of our favorite things. And I mean they trying to just put their bathing suits on, and
I remember we woke up, like we got out the bed and started taking shots. Like this is 9:30, 10 o'clock in the morning. It's like, oh, where the ballers at?
Right, we in Ocean City, what's up? Like, our balcony overlooked the beach, so you're not going to tell us nothing. Like, who needs breakfast? We're drinking.
Right.
And, like, actively drinking. And, like, while they're getting dressed, drinking. I'm drinking. And while we trying to figure out where we about to go, I'm drinking. On the balcony, looking out the window, sand hit my face, I'm drinking. Drinking. And we get to the beach, and we pass out. And, I mean, it had to be hours with an S. And Diamond had, like, this cute bathing suit cover-up on that had, like, little, it was, like, net. And, I mean, we get up, we get back to the room. We're like, oh, well, that was the day. So now we about to go somewhere else, figure out something else. And she gets to get undressed, and it's, like, cheetah print on her back from us being passed out. And it's, like, it was so normal. It just felt like any other day. And to know that, like, I was a ringleader of that, knowing it felt normal to me for as long as it felt normal to me, that it had to feel normal to them. Because, like, we the age, why you being that fun, get in this car, you don't got to drink, but I'm drinking, pour my Ocean City, make my cup. And knowing that, like, that was crazy. Like, roping people into my crazy because it felt so normal to me that it's like, well, why aren't you doing it? If I'm doing it and it's not anything wrong with it, then why aren't you doing it? Because it's nothing wrong with it. And that led to, like, an insane segue into, I got into a relationship, like my very first serious adult relationship, and y'all, it was a mess. I say that because your girl was having no serious nothings. I did not want to know your mama. I did not want to know your favorite color. Please do not talk to me about your favorite sports teams. All these facts are not necessary. I was out here living my very best life, I thought, and having, I wouldn't even say like it was like a lot of sex, but definitely meaningless sex. And being in that relationship was like, oh, I actually like this person. I remember even like reaching out to Aaron saying like, nah, he's different. And Aaron's like, okay, yeah, okay, we'll see. And being in that relationship, I stopped drinking because I wasn't going out as much. And if we were to drink, we had to do it at the house because I worked 2 jobs, he worked 2 jobs, and it just wasn't the same lifestyle. And I remember like being tore up one night at a party at my house, so much so that they had to text him for me.
Yeah.
So I think it was my birthday.
It was your birthday.
Yeah.
It was
We
my
were
birthday.
lit, but you texted some like gibberish, and he was like, "You pissing me off."
Oh, well, wait, let's pause. So I was pissing him off, but we ain't pausing because I wasn't pissing him off. He, on my birthday, had a daughter, on my birthday. He had a daughter. Okay, my bad. He had a daughter, and on my birthday, his daughter got admitted into the emergency room. And while he was supposed to be at the party with us, he had to go to the emergency room to be with his daughter and his daughter's mother. And at that time, I didn't care about that. Like, I can say that now because it's the truth. It's unfortunate, and I definitely made my amends and apologized. But I didn't care. And it's like, it's my birthday, and he ain't here. I'm going to turn up. I'm going to have the time of my life. And I did. And I did. And my friends were getting the heat of me not taking the heat of the text messages and him just trying to like update me and needing actual emotional support because his child was in the emergency room. And I mean, I'm on the floor, like back on the floor, legs in the air, done. And it's like, y'all, I can't text. Yeah. And he texted. And they're like, okay, like, hand me your phone. And
we literally had to take turns. It's like, all right, Diamond, I'm going to write the text. You want to check for grammar. Because we had all been drinking. And it's like, but this is kind of serious. So we needed a little modicum of, respect for the situation. But the atmosphere was party. And it's like, if y'all are not partying, then it doesn't matter. Because that's what we're doing right now.
And I mean, like, he's like escalating into anger of like, these messages aren't making sense.
Yeah.
You are being ridiculous.
Literal gibberish.
What is wrong with you? And it's like, y'all.
It's like, ooh, take girl, get your phone. Like, you can't text no more. So we started texting for you.
And saved my relationship at that time. I mean, it was many other times that I was ruining it, but those are different videos. So in this video, we're going to talk about the fact that, like, from then, realizing that, like, okay, there's a problem. Our relationship progressively got worse. I wasn't unfaithful. I just couldn't understand what faithful meant. I actively have been in nothing relationships for forever. We ended up moving in together. Everything was kind of going really fast. And it was like all the things that they were like sharing with me, like, are you sure you all want to move in together? And it's like, I love him. Yes, I want to move him in. Are you sure y'all should be together? And it's like, why wouldn't we be together? We're perfect for each other. And like truly being in like the thralls of addiction, not realizing that it was like making all of my decisions for me, that I got to a point where our relationship, he had proposed. And I know if y'all just watch their faces, it's good faces because it's true. It was bad. I was bad. And I can admit that because I'm good now. And I know God. And thank you, Jesus, for always being a protector and a redeemer. But he had proposed and I was in the grocery store. So let me not, again, I got to get context because I'm not a crazy person. I was in the grocery store and we were on the phone and I think he said something like, we should get married. And it's like, okay, yeah, like that's going to happen. And he's like, no, like, I really want to marry you. Like, would you marry me? And it's like, I mean, yeah, I would marry you. Not understanding, because again, emotional intelligence, IQ was a 2, and that's not a good number. And like, actively being blasé about it. Like, oh, so you want ice cream? Like, you want waffles? Not even thinking anything of it. And he's like stoic. He hangs up the phone, and I get home, and he's not talking. He's packing his bag. He's ready to leave. And I call Aaron, and it's like, girl, he is tripping again. It's something wrong with him again. And Aaron's like, what happened? Tell me everything. And it's just like, I mean, we're on the phone in the grocery store and he playing. And then Aaron's like, what if he was serious? Like, did you even consider that he could be serious? And it's like, Aaron, no. Because like, why would that be a serious thing? Like, why would that be a way he was being serious? And like having to process emotions through my friendship. Like having to understand how someone else could feel because I cared about how they felt. And like having to reach out to Diamond and being like, girl, we in another fight. Like, I'm over these fights. I don't know what to do. And Diamond's like, well, what are you fighting about this time? Like, didn't y'all fight about that before? And it's like, yeah, well, I mean, I'm not different. And at that time, I was like messing around with the old coworker that Diamond hated. Not hate him. She hated him for me. And that having like my one foot out the door, being in that unrequited relationship where thinking that felt like where I should be because it was everywhere I wasn't supposed to be. So like having that pull of this is the person I want to be with because this person doesn't want to be with me, instead of being with the person I was with who wanted to be with me, and actively like avoiding that relationship because it felt healthy and it wasn't. I'm not even about to give that more seconds in the video than it needs to be. None of them were healthy, but it felt healthier than the other one. And I want to ask you ladies, what was like the hardest part of being my friend during the depths of the ugly? And nothing will hurt my feelings, I promise.
It wasn't necessarily hard. There was an abrupt transition, and this was years ago, so this is the lens that I was looking through at the time. It's not my current point of view, but it just seemed like an abrupt shift. It's like, okay, we're partying all the time. That's not working out, so I'm not doing anything. I don't want to be around alcohol. I don't want to go out. Like, I don't want to do anything that I used to do before. And that shift, to me, it seemed like just the switch of a light, which shout out to you for being persistent with completely cutting that off. Because for me, it's like, okay, well, I'm not going to drink as much, but I'm not going to say I'm never going to drink again. You were like, no alcohol for me. And to be in that party space and then to be absent from it, it felt like you were moving into a space without me. So it's like, oh man, am I losing my friend? Like, she don't want to hang out. Like, she don't want to party. Like, and that's what we've been doing as friends. And it really made me grow up because I had to let you do what you need to do for yourself and not project any of my own insecurities onto you. And it's like, you're trying to grow. Like, I haven't been making healthy decisions or developing healthy habits, so I'm going to remove myself from that and not holding that against you, like, or making it or taking it personal, I guess. Like, our friendship became more than just having fun together. It became real and became true, and that was because you leveled up kind of and just removed yourself from that to experience different things and to really develop your faith. And it was just amazing to watch and beautiful to behold, because it's like, okay, this is somebody who cares about themselves enough to be by themselves in a space that they need to be by themselves in. And that takes bravery to go to a place that nobody has been before by yourself. And I don't understand at the time. It's like, what's going on? Like, this is my party homegirl. Like, if I call her up and say, oh, we going out, she like, when and where? And I was like, girl, I ain't going. And it's like, you're not going? What you mean?
It was
what
crazy.
You mean? And it was like a couple years of that. And then it got to, okay, the reason I'm avoiding it is also a part of the addiction. I need to not just separate from it, but address why I needed to separate and how to separate in a healthy way. Because it was like one end of the spectrum, and then we got to the other end of the spectrum where we weren't doing anything. And it's like, okay, now that I've experienced both of those things and neither one of them are really working, how can I find a healthy way to be in the middle where if I am around people who are drinking, I don't feel triggered, or I don't feel like I'm missing out, or I don't feel like I have to drink to have fun. And it's not like depriving yourself where it's like, if I have a sip of a drink or if I'm near people who are drink, I'm going to lose it or backslide. Like, it was really you being persistent enough to try and true every process. So, I mean, it was a windy journey, and I'm just happy that you are where you are and feel healthy and are exhibiting healthy habits. Because I've seen it when it was ugly. I've seen it when it's like, okay, this isn't ugly, but it's like a bandage over a cut, and you need stitches. And I'm glad that we're to the point where it's like stitched up and healing.
That's so good. And it's like so crazy to hear you say that, because like being the person who brought the party to you, to hear that like it left you with the party alone and that wasn't even like your thing. It's like it became your thing, but it wasn't really your thing.
Mm-hmm.
And to be in a place where it's like, I'm never partying again. And I mean, like, she sent a text, it's like, girl, don't you text me. If it's alcohol there, not coming.
Yeah.
If it's men there, not interested.
Right.
Me, you,
I ain't going.
and movies. That's it. And the movies are PG, not even 13. I mean, like, this is like serious text messages. And it's like, but I just moved into my apartment. Like, you can't come over. And it's like, no, because I know we're going to be drinking. And it's like, not knowing because I didn't have anyone. I said in the intro to like you knowing about this podcast as besties that I didn't have the representation I was looking for. I was going to these AA meetings for Alcoholics Anonymous and there was no black women, or the black women were old or they were young and like weren't really talking about their issue with alcohol. They were just saying like, I just want to get more information. Or being in the sex and love addicts meetings and it was all older white men and not being any real women, and then going to the women's only groups and like nobody in there is actually sober. Like everybody in here is still in an alley having sex. And it's like, well, that was me. So like if you're doing it and I'm doing it and nobody in here has been doing it or not doing it for longer than 6 months, I'm gonna fail. So I can't be around any of it. And that process sucked. Like it really did suck. And I think it goes to when we were talking about covenant friendships that like in the past you isolate. You genuinely put yourself in a little cocoon, trying to be mindful that like I don't want to bleed on anyone who's not bleeding, but all the while you're bleeding out and no one knows that you're bleeding out and you're literally dying and no one knows you're dying. And I remember when having the conversations with you both about like, okay, there was an addiction or there is an addiction and like I need some space. I mean, I cut off every dude because flirting was a trigger, texting men was a trigger. And I mean like sitting in this house by myself going through everything you would see in a movie as withdrawal. Sweating, feeling nauseous and like vomiting, losing my hair, my nails were brittle because my brain was literally deprived of what it thought it needed to survive. And being around everyone's like, I don't even know how to communicate this. Like we're at a restaurant and our waiter could be a guy and he's like, well, hey ladies. And I'm just like, hey. And feeling like I gotta do it to him in the bathroom right now. And it's just like, you don't like him. He is a child and you will go to jail. And you don't feel like you actually want to do that. But I did feel that. And then sitting at the table like, how do I tell them that I'm uncomfortable or I feel overwhelmed? It's like, well then just don't go. And it's so helpful and I'm grateful for you sharing that, to hear that like it's not a just me process. And in not having again that emotional capacity or intelligence to know that like it wasn't a just me process and nothing I've ever been with any of you has been a just me process, that I didn't have to do it by myself in that way, but I didn't know. And I'm hoping that by sharing this you will be able to go through with your friends and that you will know. And Diamond, what about you? Hardest part, nothing's off the table.
It's like what she said, when you isolated yourself. That was hard because like you were the person like I'm an introvert, so her being an extrovert helps me get out and meet people and everything. So she was like that wing person for me to get out and meet people. When she just isolated herself and just stopped going out because everything was a trigger, that was kind of hard. So it kind of, I wasn't mad about it. I was like, okay, well, she's doing this for herself. She has to go through the steps to get to where she needs to be at. I'm okay. It was just hard because like I missed my friend. It's like,
yeah,
I missed her.
Exactly. Yeah, it was never like, oh, she forgot about me or she don't want to be my friend. It was most like, well, this is how we hung out.
Yeah.
What are the next steps? Like, what is the alternative? Yeah, like, what are unlit hangout situations? And it's like, when you're in your early 20s, nothing doesn't include alcohol. It's like, what? I'm not even processing like just going to the movies. What, girl, we going to the club? What you talking about?
Right.
And you're like, no, I'm not doing that. So it's like, okay, well, what can we do? And that kind of broadened my own horizons. Because it's like, let's go to SoFars and let's, go see this movie or try this new restaurant. And we're not drinking and we're not, carrying on like we used to, but it's still friendship and it's still us together. And it was still like nice to kind of elevate and like grow up from just partying hard. Like, We party.
We party.
Party.
And I was doing all the party. So they were not doing all the party like I was doing, but your girl was definitely doing all the drugs. I was doing any of the things. Nothing was off limits. If we wanted to be in a bathroom somewhere doing some sexual stuff, doing it. If we wanted to be popping a molly, did it. If we was doing a little, that was your girl. Hopefully that don't get me triggered on YouTube because we want to monetize. So I'm gonna just do a little boop. So if you get a little boop, fill in the blanks. It was a snowy substance. But like, I mean, copious amounts of weed, like just all the things, cause why not? It just felt like, oh, I'm at that age, but it's like, to do what? Kill yourself? And that's what it was. It was just like a slow murder to feel better about life in general and literally feeling horrible all the time. And I remember even like when trying to hang out with Diamond in a healing process, I remember we went to the movies and I don't remember what movie it was, but there was definitely a scene where, was it a Michael B. Jordan movie? Because he took his shirt off?
Was it I think it was that movie, we both was about to fall asleep on it, but it was...
It was say the movie.
The movie was boring.
So they're not going to call y'all for the
It was nice black ice in it, but it was just, I didn't like the movie that much. But, yeah, she was like, I don't know. I don't want to look at it because it was sex scenes in it. She's like, no, it's too much. It's too much. I have to close my eyes. I'm like, okay.
And literally like in the theater like this. Like, Diamond, when it's over, just tell me.
Yeah.
And feeling like a child. Which of course, shame makes you feel like the good things you are doing are bad and that you shouldn't be doing them. But it's like, I haven't seen my friend and I don't know how to see her because we didn't have skills to say, oh, we're going to the mall to walk the mall. It was like, how do we hang out without drinking or sex? And it's like, it didn't need anything for me to have sex. So it's like, we can go to the movies. The movies will be great. It's like, I can eat popcorn. I can have a soda. Like, this feels fine. And then it's like, oh, this not even like a rated R movie. It's just they kissing hard and they doing that slow, this about to be a sex scene thing. And it wasn't even that. And we were literally falling asleep. So it's like, this is boring. And then it wasn't. And then it's like, okay, Diamond, gotta go. Bye. And probably didn't see her for like 2 more weeks after that because I needed the time to like decompress from what felt like a slip. And that was crazy. And then I wanted to loop in Yolanda because their journey wasn't over. Like, so Aaron alluded to the fact that like I got plugged into church. I started really being active and involved in my church and serving and really like digging into the Bible and really being about my word. And like that felt like, oh, this was the piece. Like, this is what was missing. But then it's men in the church. And we met a man in particular that we all call Pastor Thirst Trap. When we originally saw him, I remember being on my phone in this here living room and seeing him on Instagram. I'm not even really on Instagram, so that in and of itself was like, what is this man? Oh my goodness. And it's like, Aaron, look at this boy. He like love God. And she's like, girl, but he's a thirst trap. And then Diamond's like, but he a pastor. So he's Pastor Thirst Trap. And we're like, yep, that's his name. Pastor Thirst Trap. Well, fast forward, we're out with my church group and Pastor Thirst Trap is there. And it's like, Aaron. Like, that's him. And she's like, who? It's like, that's a Thirst Trap. He ends up becoming our friend in our group. He helps like host the group. And in his friendship, I'm thinking, with God, whole healed, healthy and recovered. It's been 2 years. I'm good. I'm solid. I ain't had no sex with nobody till marriage. I still feel that way, so let me not joke about it. And it was like overwhelming. And I couldn't understand why. And I remember being on the phone with Yolanda and what our friendship loves to call, coined by Aaron, so give her credit, the spiral, where it just felt like everything is everything and it's 1,010% bigger than it has to be, and there's no way out, and the ceiling's coming in and the walls are caving in and there's no light at the end of the tunnel. And I'm like, Yolanda,
It was rough. I was like, oh my God, again, please. But it was rough in the sense that I realized that she was still struggling and going through. And it's hard for me because I tend to be an empath. So it's hard for me sometimes to feel things that other people feel and want to help them, and you can't. And it was one point when she said to me, like, you guys don't understand what I'm going through. You know, you could try to be there as much as you can, but you don't understand. And for me, it was like, because I want to help everybody the best that I can. So when she was going through with Pastor Thirst Trap, who I really wasn't feeling, by the way, anyway.
She didn't like him.
I did not like him. It just wasn't working for me.
No one liked him.
No.
He's
a likable.
He's definitely
person.
charming when he can turn it on.
When you turn it on.
But underneath, you could definitely see sometimes it's a facade, and you really thirst trapping. Like, it's not a joke. Like, you really are setting women up. And it's not even physical, so it's not even condemning where it's like, oh, you did something wrong, and this is how you did it. It's just a feeling where it's like, you are leading people on.
But I could tell that he
from
was
the pulpit.
Yeah, he wasn't healed in some areas.
Yeah.
And so she wasn't healed in some areas. That wasn't working. They were missing each other. There was always butting to the heads. It was always, sometimes they were becoming dependent on one another in certain areas. And it was too much. So I'm trying to encourage her, pour in her, steer her. And it was like she had to fight her own battles and learn her own ways as much as you can, as much as you want to love upon your people. Sometimes they got to find their own ways and they have to see it. And because she was pursuing God as well, God was able to help her and show her. But you have to be open to it. And so it was rough. Going through it with her, but at the end of the day, God did it for her. He could do it for you.
Amen.
So, well.
Hey, listen. Doink. And I remember one day I called Yolanda, and I was back in withdrawal, and had been in recovery for 2 years and feeling all those feelings like it was day one, and panicked, calling her frantic, and it's like, I don't want to word vomit on you, but I don't know what to do, and screaming and crying, hooping and hollering. And she's like, we got to do a cleanse. We have to be very intentional about first of all, this friendship is done. I love you, but you can't be his friend anymore. This isn't healthy. It's not healthy for you. There's literally nothing going on, and you're just as sick as you were that you're telling me from before, because she wasn't in my life during those times. And at that time, she was the friend in faith that I needed, because I had left all the other areas of my life, like Aaron and Diamond were saying. So it's like, okay, girl, you know the Lord. You got me. You gonna drag me to salvation. And she was like, we gotta cut off what you watching on TV. You not listening to no kind of music that has anything in it. Nothing sexual, romantic, no fantasy. We're not watching sexual, romantic, fantasy movies. We aren't talking to him, so you definitely gonna pray about how you gonna have that conversation, but you're having a conversation and let him know that y'all can't be friends anymore. And I feel like it was something else. And
then we do a fast.
We did a fast. Most important part. Thank you, Yolanda and Holy Spirit. And we did a fast, and intentionally for 3 days did not play with the enemy that was all up in that. And it felt so dumb to be literally stuck to Disney and realizing even in Big Hero 6 they boyfriend and girlfriend are here, can't even watch Big Hero 6 no more, and that's my favorite movie. And feeling like a child, and that shame of oh my gosh, here we go again, this isn't over, this isn't done, and being so upset with myself. And I even remember the day I had to have the conversation with Pastor Thirst Trap. And even Erin was there, and she, yo, this is an adult thing you just slip up and say. Dang. I'm gonna keep going. So it was God knew that I needed her there as well, because and the expectation wasn't that she would be there. It was just literally how the conversation kind of landed, and he couldn't even hear it. He could not process the information because it seemed crazy to him. And
it was good that it was just a witness to everything that you were feeling, just confirmed, where you don't feel oh, Pastor Thirst Trap manipulated me into seeing it his way. You have two people standing in agreement that this is not okay. So I had my confirmation that it's not just me.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm happy to have been there at that time, because it's like, as a third party looking in, it seemed like, oh, everything is up. Like, oh, this could be the one. Like, she play her cards right, he play her cards right. Like, they could end up something. And to see it not be that because of the facade that he puts on, it's like, dang.
And it was difficult. And feeling like addiction was still 1,000, like recovery or sobriety was still 1,000 years away. I got plugged into Celebrate Recovery because I had been so plugged into the church, and it was kind of recommended to me. And even in Celebrate Recovery, no one was sober longer than I was. And even to this day, I go to my meetings and I'm the longest sober person in my specific addiction, the sex and love addiction, that like in a room, I'm the most sober person about that. And that's very difficult. And I think that like all of my friends know this, that it is something I'm very mindful of, is not me, and not me in the way that it has been before. But I still have some issues. I still will talk to my friend Crystal and be like, girl, this is feeling addiction. And she's like, okay, well, it's feeling that, but like, is it that? Like, do you want to talk through that? Like, what does that feel like? But knowing it's not fully gone, and being mindful and wanting to share that, because it's hard. And if it wasn't for the people who got placed in my life, I don't think I would have made it to the other side. I definitely think that if it wasn't for the relationship that wasn't healthy and great, I'm not saying that at all, but it saved me from alcoholism. And then that relationship, when it ended, because it was so volatile and so bad, I went to seek a therapist to recover from that relationship. And in my third session about that breakup, she's the one who told me about sex and love addiction. And if it wasn't for God, like literally orchestrating each of these steps, I would literally probably be dead. I was doing stupid stuff. I mean, like getting drugs from people, don't know what's in this, don't know where I got it from. I'm a pretty girl, so somebody gonna give me free something, and just doing it and being like okay with like how crazy it was, like how crazy it got, like hotel parties, the police busting down the door, and we all skirting on the parking lot. I mean, restaurants getting up like, we ain't gotta pay for this, leaving out drinks after drinks after drinks, just insane crazy stuff. And sex in the most ridiculous ways, like older than me, too much older than me, younger than me, and like abusing people, having to make amends is difficult. Like, you think accountability is hard, telling somebody that you're sorry for something that you know you did was wrong and they're trying to heal from or get over from, and you bring it back up, was difficult. And I want this video to do nothing else but to show you that it is a journey. It's a roller coaster. It is not just one step process. It is not one size fits all. It's going to be difficult. The community is difficult, and that doesn't mean difficult bad or difficult good. But it takes being honest with yourself. On this side, I can say that. But don't do it alone. Do not do it without God. Even if you thought you were doing it without God, the addiction programs are centered around faith. So whether you go to AA kind of addiction program, it's about a higher power. The higher power they're talking about is God. Or if you do Celebrate Recovery, it's in a church and you're going to get that Jesus. So don't do it without him. But like knowing it's okay. I want people to see this and know that it's okay that you're not where you want to be. It's okay that you've made mistakes. It's okay that you did the best you thought you could do with the information that you had. But it's so much more okay to surrender that to God. It's so much more okay to get plugged into a church. It's okay to tell your friends and not do it by yourself. And I definitely just wanted to thank my friends for being here today. And I am so appreciative of just everything. Like literally knowing me from little squirt who was drinking liquor out of sippy cup to loving me now, being a person who has a call from God in their life and still respecting and honoring me as this person, knowing me as that person. I thank you all for just like truly supporting me and being there for me. And I definitely want to make sure on camera that I apologize for any way that unintentionally or intentionally I may have hurt you, that I know I made amends to men, and that process of SLAA, but I don't think I've ever gotten to really formally apologize to you three ladies or any of my friends. If you're watching, I love you and I'm sorry as well. But for what you don't know and what it looks like to struggle through trying to find an answer, and to hear you all say so clearly and so graciously that even in my struggle it still hurt. So I definitely wanted to apologize for that as well. I love you all, and I'm so thankful that you're in my life. And if you've made it this far, because this is going to be a long one, if you made it this far and you feel like any of this resonates to you, or you want to hear more of that story, definitely let me know in the comments. But if it resonates to you, please check out Enough.ThePodcast.com to get plugged into some resources for sex and love addiction. You can have sex addiction, you can have love addiction, you can have sex and love addiction, which was your girl. You could be an alcoholic, narcotics. It's like 76 A programs, but all of that information will be linked. Please find a therapist, like actively. It's Jesus and therapy, and to the Jesus and therapy part, get in a church. It is literally the house for you to take all your mess to. That I would not be where I am today if it was not being plugged into an amazing church, and we have amazing church resources on the site. I love you all. I'm thankful that you're here. You are my bestie, but if you want to officially be a bestie, hop into the squad on Enough.ThePodcast.com. All right, bye.
Deuce.